Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
When I first met this man, he was fighting in LFA. He's turned pro. He's got a fight coming up in NWA Power against Talons. He's a member of SVGS and in the Crocket Cup for the National Wrestling Alliance. The one and only Bulletproof himself, Blake Troop. How are you?
Doing well, Blake Bulletproof Troop, known for dropping warheads on people's foreheads. And like you said, the last time you and I jumped on the horn, it was before one of my fights for Legacy Fighting Alliance on Access TV, which was a big fight, which I went in and smashed the guy, by the way. But now, as you mentioned, since the pandemic, I have transitioned into professional wrestling, and I've been crushing it since. I'm actually coming off 2 submission wins this weekend at the Championship Wrestling from Florida reboot down in Miami. It's 2 submission. As you mentioned, I was the opening match for the last NWA Power episode going against the 7-foot-tall Jack Tallison. I don't know if you saw the pictures of him and I standing face to face, but that dude I'm 6'4", 240, and he made me look like a small person. Not just like a normal size, but like a small person. And what a battle him and I had. 7 feet tall. I don't know how much he weighs, but he's a monster. And he is by far the biggest person I have ever had any type of combat sports experience with. I trained with Alexander Volkov of the UFC top 10 heavyweight, 6'7", 270 pounds. Much bigger, much more of a monster in terms of like outlier in size, strength, mass. He's just an enormous person. But as you saw, if you tuned in, your boy Bulletproof Troop hit him with the hand grenade and then wrapped up the figure 4 grapevine, got the submission, bang, bang, tap, snap, or nap, baby. And here we are going into the Crocket Cup this coming up June 3rd and 4th in Salem, North Carolina. And I am ready. My tag team partner is Jax Dane. We're managed by Chris Silvio. We call ourselves the Savages, SVGS, Savages. And there's a reason for that, because once we get inside the ring, we act like a bunch of savages, my man. Bang, bang.
Here's what I love about you, Blake. Like, when we're just chilling, whether it's me, you, Adam Woods, we're all hanging out together in person, you're chill, you're fun, you know how to have a good time. But the minute either the cage door closes or you step between those ropes, the switch goes off. And then it's all business.
So the switch actually goes off before I get in the cage. Every time before I do any workout, I do the exact same warm-up every time. And I do 2 things. I'm one, turning my body on and getting my body prepared to perform. But the other part, which especially in combat sports is a big part, is I'm bringing the monster out. The guy who gets in this cage is I've done my warm-up and I go through my things and I'm like thinking about getting in there and doing what I need to do. There definitely a monster comes out. And I do that same monster comes out with professional wrestling. Like I said, I do it before I lift weights, before I do MMA training, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, professional wrestling training. I do it before I get in a professional wrestling ring to compete. I do it before I get on a BJJ mat to compete. So it's the exact same thing. So I'm bringing out the exact same monster that you see in the mixed martial arts cage into professional wrestling.
Well, you're doing something right, man. You're with the National Wrestling Alliance. The longest continuous world heavyweight championship is with the NWA. The United States Championship, the original one, is with the NWA. The longest tag team championships in the history of professional wrestling are with the NWA. When William Corgan took over everything, more commonly known as Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, for those that don't realize how much he loves pro wrestling, Billy was able to keep it in that vein and in that tradition of old school wrestling, and you guys put on an incredible show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited to be a part of NWA is the legitimacy. As a martial artist, legitimacy, legacy, lineage, traditions, like all of that means, because as you know, we've been in mixed martial arts. You got a black belt. Who'd you get your black belt from? There's levels to it. Oh, you're the world champion. Where are you the world champion? Wow, NWA. That's a massive achievement. A legitimate world title. There's a lot of world titles with different, but the NWA has the legitimacy, the legacy, the history. The people that have held that, and any of the NWA belts, particularly NWA heavyweight world title, the amount of respect that and prestige that goes into the titles because of everything the NWA has been and continues to be today. And I'm excited to be one of the new wave generation guys coming up there. And I don't think I could place for the style of wrestling that I like to bring into the professional wrestling ring.
You know, Jim Cornette, who's had his issues with the NWA recently, but, you know, who doesn't Cornette have problems with, has always been an NWA guy. He's always been a Mid-South guy. He's always been a Crocket guy. And the fact that the Crocket Cup has been revitalized and is this great tag team tournament that started off in the 80s by the NWA and is now here. And one of the original competitors is in the cup himself, Ricky Morton. What does that say about not only Morton's legacy, but the fact that it's still a tradition that he's a part of?
It's tremendous. And it goes to show that the NWA legacy has not diminished at all. It is continuing, it is thriving. And if anything, I would say it's growing and will continue to go to new levels.
Yeah. The beautiful part is that the origins of professional wrestling is catch wrestling. And with your style and with what's going on currently in the NWA, you see the roots of catch that went from as dangerous as possible, which some will even say is more dangerous than BJJ, to what's now evolved to a more showmanship style, yet it's still there and it's still embedded in that. How much of that was an attraction for you coming from MMA and BJJ to professional wrestling?
So a lot. The flavor of professional wrestling that I like that the convincing stuff. Like Bloodsport's probably one of my favorite shows to watch outside of the NWA because of the realism, the believability. And obviously we know it's professional wrestling, you know, just like I know Iron Man's not real. We understand professional wrestling's a work, but at the same time, you can get into an Iron Man movie because it's so believable, the fight scenes and so forth. Where if you saw like guys hanging from a stringer leg, if it looked cheesy, and not that current wrestling does, but I think the easier it is for the audience to suspend their belief, the more they can invest themselves in what's going on. That's just my personal opinion and particularly the way that I wrestle. Not that that's for everybody or different people and different flavors for different people. But I like the realism. And it's one of the things that I think also allows me to stand out in professional wrestling is my depth of understanding of submission grappling, particularly catch wrestling. Like I said, I'm coming off 2 submission wins this past weekend at Championship Wrestling from Florida, the reboot. I beat Jack Tallis with a submission. I beat Jeremy Plunkett with a submission. You know, where I'm getting a bunch of submission wins. And I definitely think that as a very legitimate high-level submission grappling competitor, it's my massive advantage I have over a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys have been training big slams, this and that, but submission defense is extremely difficult when you've got a guy who knows exactly how to isolate an arm or a leg or a neck or snatch those out in transitions. And it's been doing me really well because of that background to find those submissions, baby. Tap, snap, or nap. It isn't a gimmick, my man.
Listen, man, I've witnessed it ringside and cage side, so I know what's going on with you. You know, you're no joke. You're a real shooter.
Shooter as they come, locked, cocked, and ready to rock.
My man, with Savage being what you guys are, and Jax a little more of those power move orientated while you're the technician, it makes for a great blend of styles, especially in tag team wrestling, which we've been missing. You know, like Kevin Nash used to say when he had it banned in WCW, and I hated that he used the phrase vanilla midgets because those high flyers have done so much for the business. But when they use the power bomb as a setup and not a finisher, it diminished the power bomb. You know, when you see the super kick and Shawn Michaels only needs to kick somebody once and it's done, and these other guys are kicking him 15, 16, 17 times, it shows that their leg work isn't there and it diminishes the move. You know, how important is that realism, not only to your style, but to the NWA, where something that's supposed to be big and powerful has now just become a secondary thing?
You know, so that's a big thing that drives me crazy. It's like Jake the Snake's DDT. That was a killer, very feared move. And now it's like I said, you have guys kicking on 2 off of a tornado DDT off the top rope, like, which I get that wrestling has evolved and people have seen stuff. So you got to kind of start leveling up. But the thing is, if you got to one up it last time, like, all right, I'm going to do a backflip off the top rope. All right, well, in 6 months, what are you going to do? Double backflip off the top rope. All right, cool. What are you going to do in 6 more months? Double backflip off the top rope through a table. All right, what are you going to do in 6 months? double backflip off the top rope through a table that's on fire. And it's just like, how do you continually level up if you just keep making the move not necessarily mean as much as it could? And I'm not against highlight moves and cool big spots. I definitely think that they're overused. Just like I think stipulation matches are significantly overused. Like what's a ladder match now when there's fucking ladders getting pulled out all the time, you know? Like, and I'm not against it, like in different flavors for different people, but I think that making things count, whether it's a DDT, a super kick, a power bomb, a table match, a guy going through a table, but whatever it is, make it count. And that's one of the things I like about the NWA. Slow it down, make it count. One heavy hitting action that comes in like, or struggles like a legitimate battle, you know, make everything count instead of just throwing as much stuff at it. You know, like I've heard somebody say recently, more paint doesn't always make the painting better. You know, and like, or more words to the song, like, you know, sometimes it doesn't need more notes in it, you know, like, or it doesn't need more paint, you know, like you can just make a little bit go a long way. But I also think that brings the diversity in professional wrestling. It is an art form. And so that's how I paint. If we all painted the exact same, maybe it wouldn't be as, so it's hard to bash people. I can just speak upon how I like to conduct my professional wrestling. And the other thing too, is particularly with strikes, if I hit a dude more than 2 or 3 times and he's still on his feet or not tore up, so I just don't use him, you know. My right hand's a finishing move. I hit somebody, I call it the hand grenade. Pull the pin, wind up, bang, lights out. One right hand, that's it. You see guys beating the crap out of each other in matches, and like, how tough does that make your punch look, my man? Given I have wrestling has evolved, and like, but particularly with mixed martial arts prominence now, so many fans see what really happens when 2 dudes are punching each other in the face or elbowing each other in the face, or how long you can really sit in an armbar, you know? And so I think that also brings a little more legitimacy and respect to the sport when it's, because the big thing I think when people watch wrestling is once they see something that's totally kind of outrageous, they tune out if they're not already interested in wrestling. I like people to be able to watch mine back, bro, that was actually pretty cool. Like that was a good match. Like, or like a competitive match, given we know it wasn't real, but like not making people have to work too hard to suspend their belief that what they saw was maybe it was real. Just like Iron Man and the Avengers. I know he's not real, but they do a damn good job of making it seem real.
Right. What I used to love about pro wrestling as a kid, especially watching the NWA, was you're like, all right, we know it's a work, but that hit looked a little too real. Did they slip over here? Oh, are they getting heated at each other for real? Or is that still part of the story? So it was trying to differentiate with the flow of what was being worked, what was a shoot, and how the two blended, and they got back to the work from the shoot, or did they just go full shoot? And like, that was the intriguing part of trying to put the puzzle together. And you guys are doing that with the NWA, you especially, because I know your background and I know you personally, that it adds so much more flavor to it.
100%. And it's something that I try really hard to do, whether it's a singles match, a tag match, make it seem believable. I mean, whether it's a promo, I've had people hit me up before and like, yo, you like mad at him? Like, no, I'm just working, bro. Like, if I'm working that hard, I'm doing a good job, I guess.
And to everybody else, please stop apologizing to your promos and letting everybody know I didn't really mean it. You're selling the show. Just sell it.
Drives you crazy sometimes. But again, suspending the belief. You know, people think I really want to hurt somebody. They want to tune in significantly more. And I might actually want to hurt that person. We'll just see if I get mad enough inside the ring to do it.
Well, you got to have, you got to make business, man. You got to keep the show rolling.
You got to keep the show rolling. It's true.
Yeah.
So you mentioned my tag team partner, Jax Dane. I'm super stoked to be tagging up with Jax. Jax has done everything there is to do just about in the NWA. He's gotten just about every title except USA tag team title. So he's like world tag titles, US title, national title, heavyweight title, world heavyweight title. Like, the dude's done everything. And as you mentioned, we are 2 different types of competitors. He's the tank. I'm the sniper. And we work together very well. And I'm still new to professional wrestling. I may be a very high-level combat sports competitor, but the rule set in professional wrestling is a little bit different. And as a result, there's some learning curves. Jax and I have lost twice together. Both times I got pinned in a quick roll-up. But coming from mixed martial arts, I'm not used to roll-ups. That's not something, or even tag team, having a second guy. I'm looking over here at this guy and I get pinned from behind, like, or someone coming off the top ropes. I'm just not used to some of this stuff, you know? So there's been a little bit of a learning curve for me, but sitting under the learning tree of Jax Dane and who manages us, I feel like I'm learning at a very high level pace. And as I said, I'm a competitive athlete. So trying to be the best that I can be, not just better, but the best that I can be in a variety of different areas, putting in the work, learning from coaches, asking questions, studying tape. It's an awesome learning experience being able to work with such a high level competitor in Jax Dane and such a high level manager with such extensive experience inside the ring as well, and my coach Chris Silvio.
And the one bonus to all this is you also don't have to worry about a weight cut trying to get back down to 205 in all this.
Bro, so my last fight was supposed to be March 13th, 2020 at heavyweight. And I was like, I'll never cut weight again. And I will, if I fight again, I wouldn't cut more than 10. I'm like 230 right now. I'm like, I would consider 205. But if I took one more fight, I'd want to fight for the Lights Out Xtreme Fighting heavyweight title at heavyweight. Because in my opinion, the heavyweight's the fucking king of the dog park, you know? Plus, I don't really care to cut. I feel like cutting.
Sean Merriman puts on a great show with Lights Out. So
yeah, so Lights Out Xtreme Fighting on the Fubo Sports Network. Our next show is July 22nd, coming out of Southern California. And it is always a bunch of bangers. You can catch me on commentary, combat sports competitor, combat sports analyst, combat sports entertainer. Your boy Bulletproof Troop does it all. Bang, bang.
Listen, man, when Troop was starting out, for people that don't know, he'd print out his own T-shirts and he's like, buy a ticket, get a shirt. Like, he promoted himself better than anybody I knew when it came to MMA. And the fact that he was able to sell the tickets and help sell out those shows made it even more entertaining, because now you're invested in Blake. You're running around in his T-shirt. You're supporting a guy who you met in person and got to know as a human being, not just some fighter out there that's in the cage that you don't have any idea of who he truly is. So what you're seeing with Blake Troop here is who you get in the ring, in the cage, and in real life. And that's a beautiful thing for people that don't know that are now learning about you.
I appreciate that. And I definitely like to have a very inclusive experience for the people that come out to sport, whether it's professional wrestling, fighting, or whatever, where I call my Bulletproof Troopers my Bulletproof Troopettes. I'm Bulletproof Troop, but together we are the Bulletproof Troop. And it's a team feeling. Everyone's in there rocking. It's just like you go to a sports, you go to a Laker game. How many people rocking the Lakers? You know, I got my team colors. We got it all swagged out, you know. It's a good feeling. I'm happy that you are a part of the Bulletproof Troop, my man.
Listen, man.
You've been around for a long time, too.
Been a while, you know, but it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Because when you're loving life, sometimes time goes quickly.
Like, what I love about you on top of all of that is that, like, you're happiest when you're just hanging out with your dog on top of everything.
So I'm just literally chilling on my couch right now, chilling with my dog and one of my girls.
Yeah. Dude, you're keeping it alive. The National Wrestling Alliance is blowing up. The resurgence is there. We got NWA Power. We got the Crocket Cup coming up this weekend, June 3rd and 4th. What does everybody need to pay attention to in the Crocket Cup with Savage?
So when the Savages are in there, don't blink, because tap, snap, or nap, you can get somebody's lights turned out real quick, just like a mixed martial arts fight. And I'm coming off now 2 losses with we beat Talus and Daisy, but I got rolled up by the Country Gentleman and I got rolled up by Magnum Muscle. So I feel like I personally have something to prove going into the Crocket Cup. And like, I'm trying to knock somebody out. Like, I got a few submission wins there, but I might just try and knock somebody out this time. So don't blink. The Savages are going to get savage, baby. You can expect to see us in the finals. I think we're taking home the Crocket Cup.
Something we want to see, man. Bring it back to LA.
I believe that gives me bring it back to. I live in Florida now, but it would come home with me at some point. The other thing that I think is a huge advantage for Jax Dane and I at the Crocket Cup, I'm used to having a tournament style day. I might have 6-7 matches in a day. How many other guys are used to that type of conditioning, mental fortitude, ability to switch game plans and adjust based upon your opponents? I think it's a massive advantage that I have over professional wrestlers. I might not be as good as the rules, but I'm really good at this format. I've done multiple tournaments. I'm training for world championships in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu early July. So like I'm ready to come in and go through, you know, I mean, what's it, 24-man bracket or something? I'm ready to go through 7-8 matches in 2 days if I need to. I don't know if a lot of other guys are built for that. I know I'm built for it. I know Jax Dane's built for anything he needs to do. And I'm coming in with a chip on my shoulder like I got something to prove. So don't blink.
I'm loving it. Blake Troop, where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you?
So you can find me on Instagram at Bulletproof Troop or Facebook, facebook.com/Bulletproof Troop. You can find me on Twitter at Big Troop 22. You can head on over to bulletprooftroop.com. I'm going to have some fresh merch up in the coming days before Crocket Cup. And one more time, at Bulletproof Troop on Instagram, facebook.com/Bulletproof Troop, at Big Troop 22 on Twitter, or head on over to bulletprooftroop.com. Going to have some stuff. Get yourself some swag. And I know I said Bulletproof Troop a lot of times, but one more. My name's Blake Bulletproof Troop, known for dropping warheads on people's foreheads. Welcome to Fanboy Nation. Bang, bang.